Today we got a question from Luke, who has a pretty cool opportunity at his gym to begin some coaching. But I believe he's a little bit nervous about taking it, and so we'll jump into this question today. So Luke's got several years of training. He's 25 years old, and he has a fair amount of competition experience as well. And recently he and his coach were talking, and he made it known to his coach. He said, hey man, I would be interested in coaching should an opportunity ever present itself. And his coach said, well, you know what? Just happens that we have a opening in our kids class. So if you would like to begin helping coach, we have a 9 to 13-year-old slot available. That's the age group for the kids. And so would you like to help us coach kids? Now Luke said, he's like, I don't know, man. And in his head, he said he feels like he's more of an adults coach, not a kids coach. I asked him what he meant by that. And he said that, you know, he feels like the kids are going to be energetic, and so he's going to spend all of his time controlling the kids. And he can't just teach jiu-jitsu. He has to, you know, make them do games and all this stuff. And, you know, it's not going to be teaching jiu-jitsu, which is what he wants to do. He's like, I want to teach jiu-jitsu. And so his question to me, one, is, you know, what my thoughts are on this whole situation. But the second question is, what are the differences between teaching kids and adults? You know, what are some suggestions or major differences there, and any ideas on it? So, brother, thank you for the question, Luke. So two things there, right? Number one is, what do I think of it? Well, I think you should take the opportunity, because in your message, you said that coaching is something you want to get into. Well, hot damn, here you go. Here's an opportunity to get a foothold in that realm of coaching. Sure, it may not be the eventual job you want, but how many times do we get to like walk in, you know, at the very beginning and say, give me the eventual job that I want? Never, right? You always have to start somewhere, right? And so I would just first off take it. I mean, even me, back when I first started coaching, I was like you from the message that you sent me, because it was much longer than obviously what I shared there, but I was like you where I was already helping people out because I enjoy doing that. I've always had this desire to want to just help pull people along. Ask any of my friends that knew me when we were younger, I'm always trying to pull them along with me, like, let's go guys, let's do this. And so anytime I was on the mats with people, even before I was an actual coach, I was always trying to help them do things better. I was drilling with them, helping them sharpen up their techniques, whatever, just because I enjoyed it. But I also heard that if you teach, your jiu-jitsu gets better. And so that was actually the reason why I eventually asked my coach if I could teach. Now I taught one adult class a week, and then soon afterwards, I was teaching 4 kids classes a week. Now, after that, I taught kids for years, bro. I mean, I taught a ton of kids, and I've taught different age groups, from young to somewhat older, like you would be teaching. And there are definitely some major differences between teaching adults and kids. But I don't want to get into those that much, because one, I'm telling you to take this opportunity because I think it would be good for you. But also, if you look at it like, what's the differences, right? We could split the hairs there, and maybe just you would get more frustrated because you're not teaching adults. What I would like you to think about instead is the opportunities of getting better at coaching that you could get from doing that with kids. Because for me, I can tell you that teaching kids, at least in my bearded opinion, made me a much better coach long-term. And it's for a few reasons. Number one is that it forces you to be concise with your explanations. Now, in these videos that I do with you guys on YouTube, I mean, I'm kind of long-winded, but you're sitting down at a table or at a chair, you're sitting maybe on a walk, maybe you're on the toilet watching this, I don't know. But you're sitting down watching this in a long-form content, that's what it is. But when I'm actually teaching a move in class, even with adults, I try to be as tight as possible. There's a few different things that I do to try to hit multiple different learning styles, because we all learn a little bit differently. So I try to input a little bit of some different things in my coaching style to hit multiple different learning styles, but I try to be as quick as possible because I want people to get out there and actually get their hands dirty, so to speak. I want them to be moving, doing things. Because I found that even with kids, for instance, when their attention span is lost, when you've lost them, they show it. They start looking up at the lights, you know, and they're picking their nose, they're being disruptive. All those things are happening. Adults will completely do the same thing, except they won't show it. They will be tuned out. They will be staring at you, but the world has broken them to just stay in line and just pay attention. And so they're paying attention, but they're not there. I've literally seen people, like, after I was like, all right, ready, break, and we clap our hands, and then they snap out of it, and you see that they don't know what they're doing, right? So it still happens with adults if you're not careful. And one of the things that with kids is you have to do is you have to be tight on your explanations, you have to be concise, and even better is you have to be able to explain complex ideas, concepts, and techniques in very simple and digestible chunks. You can't explain it to a 6-year-old. You can't explain it to, you don't know it. What is the adage? I'm using it incorrectly. If you can't explain it to a 6-year-old, you don't know the information that well. I think that's like a quote that a lot of times attribute to Einstein, but I don't think there's actually any source material to back that up. But it's a good quote, because if you can't break it down to simple ideas, I don't think you know the information that well. And so with kids, you are going to be challenged to take those complex ideas and to teach it to them. And you've got to do it in a way that's simple, and you've got to do it in a way that's almost entertaining. In marketing circles, sometimes they'll use this word infotaining. Information meets entertainment. You smash them together. And it's a beautiful thing if you can do that. And one of the things, like a lot of times from the kids' classes, when I was teaching kids, I wasn't just teaching. I was there to perform for them. And maybe this sounds a little weird, but I'm there to basically not be on their level energetically, because that's going to be tough, but basically to keep their attention, keep them entertained, and also make sure that they walk away with a little bit more information. And that helped me be a better coach on the mats, because again, if you ever come to one of my classes, people will be learning, they'll be doing all this stuff, and they'll probably be laughing and giggling, cutting up, stuff like that, because I'm trying to purposely make this a fun class. I'm trying to make this entertaining to you. I'm not just simply here, hey guys, we're doing arm bars today. Let's go ahead and grab the arm bar. Okay, yeah, that's boring. I want you to be here having a good time, and I want it to be almost a performance. You know, and if you, one of the things you will also see if you ever come to one of my seminars or classes is that I'm usually running around and I'm sweating afterwards. I look like one of those comedians who's like Robin Williams, who's sweating all over the place trying to tell jokes, because I'm putting forth an effort to perform for people. Something I got from kids, because I couldn't lose them. If I performed for them really well, they were good. I had them. I had control of them. And if I was off, I would lose them. Now, there's a lot of different techniques that you can do to gain their attention back, but save that for another day. Those are more technical stuff. This is just general ideas. And one more thing, because you said with kids, you're going to have to play games with them. And you know, you want to teach Jiu-Jitsu. You don't want to play games. Well, here's something to think about. When I was doing that situation where I had like 1 adult class and 4 kids classes, what I would often do is I would teach something to the kids, and we would play these games, which really were situational drilling, right? We would have situational rolling, situational drilling that I would call a game, right? I remember we would have like a game that would involve us basically getting to the back. And we just called it back monsters, right? Back monsters. All it was teaching the kids how to get around to the person's back and get the hooks in, you know, but you call it a game and they're like, oh, I want to play a game. I mean, we are playing games when we drill and stuff and when we roll, but again, you tell them it's a game and they want to play a game. And then I would take it over to the adults, and then we would just call it, all right, guys, we're working for back situational rolling. And it was an incredibly useful drill for the adults. And basically, it made me think about different creative ways to give people information in a way that was not simply, all right, guys, here's a technique. Let's get some reps in. Great. Okay, let's roll. Lots of different ways we can do that. And I remember one of the coolest moments for me with this is that I was trying to teach the kids a drop seonagi, and they were having a hell of a time learning it. And so I was, you know, writing up some different ideas, ways to break it down into different chunks and to basically drill it and play games, situational rolling, to get it to work. And after drilling it for about a week, I remember we had a kid come in and visit the gym, and this kid had been training. He was somewhere else, right? He came in, he was a fairly experienced little jiu-jitsu guy that had been training for a bit. And one of my students who had just learned this drop seonagi, those two were rolling, they were starting on the feet, and he dropped in, boom, and threw the kid perfectly, got on top. And I was excited about that because he had a beautiful technique against a kid he's never rolled with before. And the kid was pretty good. They had a great roll afterwards. But he hit that technique that he'd been trying to do, and he hit it because we had done all these different situational drills and rolling. And again, then take that stuff over to the adult class. Again, it's not that different. It's not as much as you think. And so those are a couple things that have served me really well. Being able to be tight and concise and to be entertaining with the information. Because trust me, adults, they lose attention too. They just aren't as energetic with kids and they won't start running around. And that's only getting worse as like social media, as everybody's just scrolling all day long and they're used to watching 15-second potato chip stuff, right? Now you're trying to teach them, you know, technique in 5 to 7 minutes or maybe 10, whatever. And also, it made me think outside the box. It made me be creative with the way that I was teaching because I had to figure out all these different ways to instill this information on people so that these kids could learn these techniques, and again, in simple ways. And again, taking that over to the adults, because trust me, plenty of adults have trouble retaining information. So if you can give them multiple ways to chew on this information, and really break it down in different ways and give them different drills to just play around with it, it helps them retain the information much better. So just a couple ideas to chew on for this video. I already used it twice. I'm getting ridiculous. Try it out. You got an opportunity to teach kids. Do it. Go out there and start your coaching career. And from there, again, think about those two things. Think about performing for the kids, being entertaining, but also teaching them good jiu-jitsu. And instead of looking at it as you can't teach them jiu-jitsu, think about how can you teach them jiu-jitsu in different sort of ways that allow you to make it into a game or make it into a situational drill that allows them to grasp what's going on. And then later on, when you eventually do have an opportunity to be an adults coach, I promise you, bro, you will be sharper when you're teaching, and you will have all this built up knowledge of how to take a complex idea and break it down and have different ways to train to hit it and for those students to be able to absorb the information. So hopefully that's useful to you, Luke, and good luck in the future, brother.